for legitimate purposes, you will be allowed to open the account. We are not saying that there is no permission to open the account. No.
Why should that be required? That's the whole point. What about the freedom just to open an account anywhere in the world that you wish, if there's nothing criminal about
Kenyans
it?
voted. I don't want to talk about your vote, but Kenyans voted for a constitution.
Yes.
Go to the constitution. It talks about a state officer not running a foreign account except in a manner authorized in an act of parliament.
Right.
So the window is there.
Yeah.
We simply don't want today. Bribery can take place through wire the money into my foreign account.
Right.
To me, that is a greater good for the country than what is being perceived as an inconvenience, which will not be an inconvenience because there's a whole regime of how you will go about it.
Yeah.
You are not
Has there been any interest in that? Maybe just to close that part. Has there been any interest in that necessitating your regulations coming out at this point, or you're just anticipatory?
No, first, we had an extreme case of one of the Kenyans who serve in a foreign mission. They were told by that country, we have looked at your constitution. It says that you should not open a foreign account without permission. We want to see the permission. Without that, we will close the account.
Okay, that's
so we needed to facilitate
very quickly
that sort of case.
Yeah, very quickly. Where do I report my boss at KPA who's using me to fleece public coffers by awarding repeated tenders for non-existing work and authorizing payments to himself by proxy using briefcase suppliers? I tried going to the anti-corruption office in Mombasa and was almost put in. They claimed I was giving false information. They'll investigate. I have been terrified and threatened. If not for my boldness and trust in God, I would be out in the cold, sacked or dead.
I would like to look into that case. Can we ask that lady or gentleman to come to my office?
In Nairobi?
You know, by coming, I'm talking about there are ways of contacting me.
Yeah.
Let them call. I will give you my number.
Yeah.
You will pass the number to that person.
Yeah.
Let them call me.
But again,
there's several people
but I want to
about
understand.
that.
Yeah, but I want to understand that because if there are several people who are raising that, it is something that I need to look into. But first, you remember we were discussing something about before we came here about imposters. There are people who have also gone to intimidate people about EACC, and we have seen people who even camp sometimes outside our offices, sometimes go to people's offices. But this extreme case is something I would like to look into. Let them call me. If they are resident in Mombasa, they will call me. Then I will
about wealth declaration. Public officers are supposed to declare wealth.
Yeah.
They declare wealth and the files are kept somewhere. Nobody ever knows what was written there. What is the purpose for that?
If you remember, initially the Leadership and Integrity Act wanted to deal with that fully. The act was, the bill was watered down. Parliament then said that we do not want to start at the top. We want to see how we will move with simply gift declaration, conflict of interest declaration. Then we can now go to wealth declaration. The proposals for amendment, which we and CIC are looking at, they want to bring that fully so that the wealth declaration is something that can be used in terms of telling somebody, tell us how you acquired this. As it is now, we are not there yet.
David,
yeah.
Last question.
Okay, yeah, I'm just maybe follow up to that question from KPA. Reporting corruption is a big issue in this country. I mean, corruption, how will people report? Where do they go?
Several people have asked that. They're asking why you don't have a hotline like 999 for them to report corruption.
And even if, okay, and then just addition of that, devolving the reporting process. Because somebody in Kitale or in, you know, Siaya, it's a trouble to have to get the national office. And then the risks of that reporting, consider that as you give your feedback on just how they should report. Yeah.
First, let me deal with the Kitale or Siaya. You will realize that we actually established an office in Eldoret for that purpose. For example, just to get closer, we established an office in Kisumu for that purpose. We are spreading even more, but at the same time, we have also given the options in terms of reporting, and we have told people they can even if it is anonymous, if people don't want, they can give us an anonymous report. We will still act on it.
But how do they do that?
They will do that through sending us an email. We have shown which email they will use. We have shown what numbers they can call. We are publicizing this again, and we are giving that, all these outreaches, we are again talking about the reporting options. That is something that we are doing throughout.
Okay, we have to wind up now. David and Mutegi, I'll solicit your opinions, but within the context of this text from Oditi in Usenge, same old story by different paper tigers at the behest of corruption czars and politically correct class. It's been hot air from Mwao, Gidongo, Lumumba, and now it's your turn with the same story. Hard luck.
Absolutely, I share that guy's statement. Because even as I sit here, I'm not convinced this country is serious about fighting corruption. The proclamation by the president is good. In fact, it should energize you to go out and fight. But you don't seem to have the tools to even reach out to the pockets of corruption that are all over the country, now in every county. The methods for reporting this corruption are non-existent in my view, because how many people look for the email, where is it? Call, where is the number?
Go to a cyber
I mean,
cafe.
that should be a public function at the nearest place where corruption is likely to happen, at the county administrative offices, because people who encounter it ought to confront it or report it immediately. Until that is achieved, I think we'll just sing about this for another 5 years.
I need to mention this.
Just a minute, I'll give you an opportunity to respond. Mutegi?
I share the views Mr. Mukali is expressing. Look at today's newspapers about these laptops. People have raised the red flag since the project started. Now, the thing has been stopped, so that we can start again. We were told they raised the price from
23.5 million to 24.3 million or something.
And we did not hear Mr. Matemo and his outfit doing anything about it. Until now, the thing has been cancelled.
Has stopped.
And we had Kibaki saying zero tolerance. We have had Uhuru saying the same. But where are we? Corruption in this country. He wants us to be positive. He wants to give a positive view that something is happening. But where is the evidence?
Is it, can I? First, let me come in and tell you this. If you want to fight grand corruption, Mutegi, David, you must know when to be covert and when to be overt. We were taking statements on the laptop issue. We were taking statements from people. We were getting reports. We were getting intelligence. It takes time to gather intelligence. This procurement issue erupted not too long ago. And that is something, even now, even after it has, even after the termination, our part is to look at, we will still follow up on where the corruption, the attempt to, and at the same time, the worst thing you can do in fighting grand corruption is go public prematurely. That is the worst thing that you can do. You compromise the matter, I can tell you that. You have seen previously people talking too early in order to play to the gallery. But at the expense of what? What product have you seen? So it must be necessary, and that's what we are doing now, to work covertly until it is time to talk about a matter, especially where you are investigating a big case. You talk about it prematurely, you then mess it up.
Well, give you a benefit of doubt. If in 1 year we haven't seen any big fish in court, then...
Are you sure you have not seen big fish in court?
Not even just big fish. I mean, even the small fish all over the place.
Are you sure that what we did, are you sure that what we have done in recent past, that you haven't seen big fish? Then you need to redefine that.
Okay.
It's just unfortunate that I can't
so
talk
going back
people.
to the grand corruption cases such as Goldenberg and the pipeline case, where do those stand, and various others, the NSSF land sale, where do those stand?
Let me begin with an NSSF matter. The NSSF matter is a matter which is very, very active. We are looking at it. We have taken statements from people without exception. We are collecting the evidence, and that's a matter which is going in the right direction. You have talked about pipeline. Again, those are the next batch of active files after the bunch that we have taken to court, which I narrated earlier. Those are the next bunch that we are looking at, and it's
Goldenberg?
Goldenberg, we have to look at how we are deploying our resources, how much of the evidence remains alive. That is something we are looking at, but we have to manage in terms of how much do we use our resources in driving with the rearview mirror, And how much do we balance in going forward? I told you, Anglo-leasing is, we are taking advantage of
it's still quite active.
Yeah,
but
very active.
what you're telling us, at least what I'm hearing, is that the biggest corruption scandal in the country, you're sort of thinking that it might be best to leave it in the past and
we
move on.
are evaluating how much of the evidence is available today in Gothenburg so that we can see whether it's possible today to mount a successful prosecution in Gothenburg. But we are also looking at the possibility of the civil side in asset recovery.
Okay, our time is up. Very quickly, what should your legacy be, given that our panelists here are not convinced that you're not a paper tiger?
I don't expect to convince people in one day. That I don't expect. But what matters more is that we have had this discussion and that we have offered ourselves to come and have a discussion with Kenyans about what we are doing now that we are in the Constitution. Convincing takes time. I would have been worried if everybody was convinced in a day. Somebody said that I get worried when everybody agrees with everybody else too early. So I would look at continued engagement with you and with the public so that we can continue saying, Matemo, when you were here on the 12th, you told us this. Can we reflect on what you have done? And for sure, that is the way we will continue to build confidence. I must finish by saying this. I accept Kenyans have suffered from corruption historically. And even the skepticism is well-founded because of the history that we have gone through. But it is necessary for us to say, are we re-energized to go forward? Will Kenyans support the fight against corruption? And I want to ask this as my parting shot. I want to tell Kenyans, play your part. 1, do not participate in corruption. Number 2, do not tolerate corruption. That's my message to Kenyans. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Our time is up. The chair of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Mumo, Matemo, has been our guest on Cheche this morning, and we do appreciate you making time for Cheche. We also thank our panelists, David Makali and Mutegi Njau, for their opinions. You've been watching Cheche live on Citizen TV. I'm Udwa Kamimo. Thank you for your participation as well. Do enjoy the rest of your week.